Hey everyone, Dylan here from WynnStrength.com, bringing you part 2 of my upper body push-pull workout. So, if you remember from last video, I'm actually dealing with some shoulder issues. It's a lingering issue, which I'm pretty sure is due to my low barbell position on the squat. It's something I've had to fix a year ago. I kind of ignored it and slipped back into my old low bar barbell position on the back, and I think it's just started to aggravate the shoulder joint again. It's kind of manifesting itself as pain that kind of starts here but really radiates in the bicep at the elbow section. So it's something I've dealt with in the past. What helped me back then was to switch over to squats with the SS yoke bar. So that helped out take that stress away from the shoulder joint in this rotated position and kind of put it in a more neutral position. So something I'll look at doing in the future. But in the meantime, we do need to keep training through any injuries or pain we might have, because training with an injury is better than not training at all. That's just fact. I'm going to throw it out there that when you're injured, you find a way to work around. And if it was another part of the body, we're going to work around that too. So the key to this is figuring out what movements don't aggravate the injury. So part 1 of today was overhead pressing, push-ups and pull-ups. None of those 3 movements aggravated my injury. So that's awesome. So for the second half, we experimented with pendlay rows, incline bench press, and some ab wheel rollouts. So I didn't expect anything to really aggravate the injury other than potentially the incline bench press, which I was experimenting with today to see how it felt, and if need be, I would have changed it out. Luckily for today, the incline bench did not aggravate the injury. Mind you, we kept it relatively light for quite high reps, so we did three sets of 8. I was able to get a top set at 185 with no real pain, a little bit wobbly, but no aggravating the shoulder in a direct manner, so I didn't really feel any acute pain sensations or anything like that, so I think that's a win. The pendlay row, obviously I wasn't expecting any pain, no weakness really either in the biceps, so no real issues there with the 3 movements I did for my accessory work. So today is kind of overhead press, bench press, overhead press being the main lift, and then we followed up with some bench press accessories. I really like the incline bench press today because it didn't cause any pain, but normally I do like the incline bench press. I feel like it just works a nicer angle. It's kind of a hybrid between the overhead press and the bench press. We got that angle. I prefer personally a lower angle, so I use the lower setting on my bench. It might be different for you depending on your facilities and your equipment. Nevertheless, I like below 45-degree angle on that bench, just because of comfort. From what I've read, the angle doesn't really have any specific carryover to either movement, obviously, because strength is specific. If you want to get better at the flat bench, you're going to have to bench on a flat surface. No matter how many incline benches you do, it's not going to translate directly to as well as a flat bench will. So given that the flat bench is out of the picture for now, I still like the incline bench because it does change that angle up. I guess it does alleviate some shoulder issues if that works for you mechanically. For me it does, so it does decrease some of that shoulder strain. And I think it just works well for hitting that upper pec. We are doing more volume style training here, so I am trying to think of more typical bodybuilding style movements, the compound bodybuilding style movements, so incline bench, things like that, which are really cool. I think it helps with the triceps definitely. You'll notice at the bottom you get a slightly longer range of motion because you are angled up, and if you do want to do that arch back, if you want to keep that arch back position, funnily enough, when you put that incline up, you're arching the back will generate you lifting with a flat chest almost. So it's something to think about. I still like it because it does kind of hit a little bit more triceps. I noticed the grip today. I brought the grip in so it is a bit more close to the shoulders than usual. I'm not really out here, so that might have helped with the shoulder strain too, bringing a little more tricep focus as well. I do like the pendlay row. I don't think you should negate the regular barbell row where the barbell floats in the air. I actually like to alternate between the 2 of them, whether that be during the week or during different phases. I don't think that one is superior to the other. I just think each has its time and place, and that ideally you should do both of them. Obviously in the same day, not necessarily in the same week either. You could do pendlay rows for one block, then barbell rows for the next block. I think both serve their purpose, and both have there's just another tool in the toolkit. I quite like the pendlay row in particular because you are getting that long range of motion. You do set up in a similar motion to the deadlift, so you get that kind of start off the floor with a little bit of hip rep to get that up, and then you're obviously touching the belly. The one thing that is common for both the floating barbell row and the pendlay row is that you do want to touch the stomach each and every rep. That's how I like to think of it, as a complete rep. If I don't touch the stomach, it's not a complete rep. And the reason I do like to throw in some pulling movements on the on the pressing day, it's just a nice little balance to complement the pushing that you do, all the pressing movements that we do. Now I understand there isn't any science to back up, there's no evidence to back up the fact that you need to do a push to pull ratio of a certain amount. There's no real optimal range. I personally like to do at least a 1-to-1, ideally a 3-to-2, where we're actually doing 3 pulling to every 2 pushing movements. I just found that to be, personally, a nice balance between the two of them. And also, I mean, aesthetically too, it's nice to have a good thick back. Just, it sets the frame off right, if you want to look at it that way. It gives you a nice frame to base everything else off of. And the more pulling motions you do, the more that'll help translate to the deadlift and just all the lifts in general. It is one of the biggest upper body muscles. I think, kind of like how people like to train the biceps. Really, you should be training the triceps more, because bi is only 2, but tri is 3, obviously. So if you can target 3 muscles in the tricep, you're going to have a bigger looking arm. So things like that, where the back actually comprises more of the muscle mass than the pecs do. So think about training the back a little bit more, if not for shoulder health, then definitely for aesthetics. So there is that argument I'm going to throw out there, because I think it's that important to train the back. And you notice all the strong guys out there, they all have really thick backs, and I think that's a good reason for that, because it does help drive up every other lift, because it is so key in keeping the back upright. If you have a weak back and you try and deadlift, you're going to lose strength in the back. If you try and squat heavy with a weak back, you're going to fold over. If you try and bench heavy with a weak back, you're not going to have a stable platform to press off of. And overhead pressing, you really do need that strong back, because you're not resting on anything other than your feet. So the strong back provides really good support. I like the ab wheel rollout as well. It's just more of a personal challenge. I am trying to work up to a standing ab wheel rollout rather than the kneeling ones. Just for funsies, it is one of the cheapest pieces of equipment you can buy for the garage gym. Even if you go to a commercial gym, I'd recommend just picking one up. I got mine from Ross for $8. It's super cheap. It's a weight rating for like 250 pounds. So unless you're heavier than that, just grab a cheap one from Ross or your discount bargain store, wherever that may be, because it's super cheap. It's a simple piece of equipment, and you can just take it wherever you go, wherever you want to train. You can even take it with you when you travel. It breaks down. It'd be hard pressed to break that, I think, unless you're over that weight range. So they're the 3 accessory movements I did today for the second half of the pressing movements. The second half of overhead press day. So think about that when adding to your own training program, or think about developing your own training program. Think about that balance between pushing and pulling, as well as getting the different angles for the different movements for the pressing and pushing. What can help you develop more, and you really want to look at the accessories to bring up where your weaknesses are. The main movements will bring up your strengths, and then your accessory movements will fill in the gap. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more of these. This has been Selwyn from WynnStrength, and remember, a better life through strength.